On a hot day when the AC's broken, I grab my Tech Syndicate mug and I fill it full of the hottest beverage that I can find. Live dangerously, Internet.
I'm trying to record this spot for Crunchyroll, but I can't stop watching Berserk, and it just showed up on Crunchyroll. So let me just push pause here. And tell you what Crunchyroll is. It's pretty much the biggest collection of anime on the internet. All these shows. And you can come and you can watch just about anything in standard definition with ads, of course. And you can also upgrade to a premium to get 1080p and no ads. That's the way to do it. Oh, I think I clicked on One Piece. I'll be here for 700 years if I'm not careful watching all this. They also have manga, forums, store, all kinds of stuff here. So also brand new is Mob Psycho 100, and he's an ESP who some really funky things happen when his emotions get overloaded, so that's kind of interesting. And then of course there's Food Wars. It's exactly what you think it is. It's like, a competitive chef thing and an anime. You guys can get a free month trial of the premium, which is, in my opinion, the only way to go. All you have to do is go to crunchyroll.com/techsyndicate and then sign up, and you'll get your free month. After that, it's $6.95 a month, and you have access to so much anime. Now to the regularly scheduled tech.
So, Wendell, the internet has been living very dangerously this week. So you do anything dangerous, Wendell, playing some Pokemon Go, endangering the lives of others while driving or anything like that?
Wandering into the street. Wandering into the Auschwitz Memorial, not Auschwitz Memorial, but the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., and the gas chamber and things like that.
Yeah.
There was a post, somebody actually caught a poison Pokemon in the World War II Memorial, Holocaust Memorial, and they're putting up signs like, don't do this. So not only is it dangerous, it's also tasteless.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah,
I guess too many people were trying to be Ash.
I think, I know Pokemon's not made by Nintendo, but Nintendo works very closely with the company, and I think Nintendo's trying to one-up the whole, there was that whole website just devoted to all the injuries from Wii. They're like, no, wait, guys, we can do better. Hold on just a minute, we can do better. You think it's dangerous to flail around in the living room? How about people walking around, crossing streets, driving cars while looking for Pokemon? You hunters out there are out of control. I want to say something. No, go ahead.
Some of these Pokemon are nocturnal too, so you have to go out at night to get them. Does that mean that you also are going to get, like, the only way to get the to get Pikachu is to go play in your local substation? It's like, oh, he's on top of this electrical transformer. Let me just climb up there and get it.
The internet's been flooded with pictures of white vans that be like, got a Pikachu in here. Come on, kids. Don't you want a Pikachu? I can Pikachu all I want. That's very, very creepy. I want to say something because there's also this whole Pokemon phenomenon is bringing out the inner curmudgeon, and it seems like there's a very hard generational divide between people who play Pokemon. And at least I thought that. I'm actually proving myself wrong yesterday, but I thought that there was a big generational divide, and it turns out not to be a generational divide. It's just people who are curmudgeons about it and are sick of seeing it on their Facebook feed and on Twitter and on news and on the media. Just Pokemon. You can't even watch the news without somebody walking through the news set playing Pokemon. But there's a backlash of people going online and posting these curmudgeon-y things like, this is me not giving a shit about Pokemon. You guys are so pathetic, the world is going to shit, and all you care about is Pokemon. Well, yes, I understand you're sick of seeing it, but at the same time you realize that this is getting people to go outside. It's getting people to move around. They're still playing a game, but there was a spike in people on Twitter complaining about leg pain. There's a national, probably global, leg pain soreness epidemic now because nerds are accidentally getting exercise. That's tragic, isn't it? No, it's not. It's kind of cool if you ask me. So it's getting people out of their house. Just do it responsibly and don't be stupid. We have to. That's the one thing is you get a bunch of socially awkward nerds out of the house. They're going to walk into the Holocaust Museum, or they're going to drive and play Pokemon at the same time because they think that they're cognitively aware enough to do two things at once. Your mental superiority may be so in Counter-Strike Go, but not in the real world. Anyway.
Even if I were the ultimate curmudgeon, I would like to think that at least most millennials have the common sense and decency to not play Pokemon Go in the Holocaust Museum. Come on.
Yeah.
Lost generation and all that, whatever, but surely it's not that bad, surely.
Before we get into the meat of the show, I wanted to mention this. Guys, we are giving away one of these 1070 amp extreme cards from Zotac. And the number one spec on this card is RGB. I always make that joke. It's still funny to me, though. But this thing, I've personally tested it, and of course they're paying to do a contest, so that's pretty cool. But they're not going to pay for this endorsement that I'm about to give it. This is so far the fastest 1070 that I've tested, and it was also the easiest to overclock when I did my 10-15 minutes of overclocking. You guys can go watch the video on that, but be sure to enter the contest to win one of these. And yeah, why not? Free stuff, free awesome stuff. Why wouldn't you enter the contest? So anyway, that's that. And by the way, they didn't pay for this plug here. I just wanted to make sure that more of you guys had a chance to enter the damn contest because it's freaking cool. So that's that. What's next on the list here? The Internet of Shit. Oh, wait a second. There's an important thing to talk about with Pokemon. Senator Al Franken. He has because Pokemon it knows your location. It can you're using a camera out there, so I mean it could be used for all sorts of things. And on the iOS, it was asking for full access to your Google account to be able to use Pokemon Go, just full access. But they say they fixed that, but they are able to harvest and collect a ton of data. And Senator Al Franken has looked at this and he's like, well, I want to know why all of this stuff is opt-out, not opt-in, number one. I want to know how much data you're collecting, and I want to know what you're using it for. So I think he's asking some interesting questions here, and that would be my only misgiving about Pokemon, is that they do seem to be able to collect a lot of data. There's a lot of data in front of them. Now, at the same time, they're collecting all this data. If you're using an Android phone that's hooked up through a Gmail account or a Google account, well, Google can pretty much collect all that data too. So if we're going to yell at somebody, we can yell at Google, we can yell at Pokemon. Everyone is trying to collect as much data as possible, but still, it's cool that Al Franken is being like, hey, what's going on with all this data? What are you doing with it? Why do you need to, and why does it have to be opt-out, not opt-in?
I can't help but think, though, that there are many, many other applications that came out before Pokemon, and there will be many more applications that came out after Pokemon that have as bad or worse privacy components. Why weren't we asking about those? Like you hear the term slippery slope. We've already tumbled down the hill face first. At this point, we probably need to go to the emergency room, and we probably need stitches.
Yeah, at the very least, we've got a lot of chiggers to take care of. And if you're not from the South, that's not a racist term. Go look it up. Chiggers are these little red things that burrow under your skin and make you itch. And at the very least, that's what we have. I think that the reason for this, and the reason he's making a stink about this one, or even bringing this up and pointing fingers at Pokemon Go, is the same reason that I always yell and scream at Apple for having piss poor conditions in their factories, and that's because this Pokemon app is huge. It's become like the fastest growing Android app or whatever, 7.5 million downloads, and it's huge. So it could be used as a standard, you know what I mean? Or it's just something that people are looking at. Maybe that's what it is. And now it's in his field of view. Like some smaller apps, people don't even know about them, but they're still doing the same thing or worse. So that's probably why, in my opinion.
Facebook is doing the same or worse. Google is probably doing the same or worse. So, it's like is this something that senators are actually going to care about and put into force of law protection for these kinds of things? Because to date, the track record hasn't been that great. And remember, the standard by which we measure how good politicians are doing at protecting our personal and private information is, does our personal and private information have more protection under the law than VHS tape rental records? And right now the answer is lol, no.
But as soon as somebody releases the browsing history of a key senator or two, then we'll see what happens. This brings us to our next article here, the Internet of Shit on this is on The Verge. Verge, what's going on? Your articles last week or so have been kind of brain weird. They're not brain dead. They're just brain weird, and they're like, well, yeah, obviously, welcome to the club, The Verge, and thanks for the clickbait title. But anyway, they're talking about Nest here, and it's just a little article just another little article about the Internet of Things has a dirty little secret. It's not really yours. Well, yeah, welcome to the party, The Verge. We've been talking about that for like a year or two. Let's skip over to there's Samsung's fridge.
Yeah, this is
that mess.
I can't think of any better way to explain to you guys how terrible the Internet of Things is than the Samsung smart fridge. So the deal with this is that you can peer into the fridge without opening it, and the fridge knows what you put in it, and it will tell you when stuff expires. Okay, that sounds reasonable. Maybe. A fridge is not a thing that lasts, 2 to 5 years. Think about it this way. If this fridge had come out, I don't know, 1995, 2000, 2005, I'm guessing that most of the refrigerators in your households are what, 5, 10, 15 years old? Yeah, you would be running Windows 95 or Windows 2000 on that fridge, on that smart fridge. Suddenly that smart fridge doesn't seem very smart, does it?
God forbid you buy the fridge in the dark era that was Windows ME.
Imagine you'd still be running Windows ME on your fridge.
My fridge takes 4 hours to boot. I don't know what's wrong with it. Like, what am I supposed to do?
It's really hard to come up with an API or an interface that lasts this long. There are things that exist. Think about like the electrical outlet. Originally we had a 2-prong electrical outlet, and it was like, it's possible to make appliances that are dangerous, and we needed to add a grounding pin. And so now we have 3-prong electrical outlets, unless you're in the UK, and then they had to get creative about where they stuck the grounding prong. So,
was that a sex joke? I don't even know.
Yeah, well, and even that is not really super standardized. In America, we have 110 volts, 60 hertz. In the UK, it's, I think, 208 volts, 50 hertz. And most of the rest of the world is 200 volts. But there also needs to be a low voltage standard. And this is the simplest thing in the world. It is we need power to power our devices. That is a kind of standard. It is a kind of API. It's a physical API as opposed to a software API. But we haven't invented something like a smart fridge that can legitimately, genuinely last 20 or 30 years. At this point, the Internet of Things is basically a Rube Goldberg machine. And if you're not familiar with the Rube Goldberg machine, you should go look that up. But this is basically turning a fridge, which should be something as simple and complicated as a rock, into a Rube Goldbergian monstrosity. And the Internet of Things will always be rejected as long as it is that.
We just checked out Nest over there on the Verge article. This is the real article. It was the next device from Nest, which is kind of the reason I wanted to bring up Nest in the first place is that Google acquires Nest, and then Nest had made a device that was like a thermostat for your home, but it did a lot more. It was like a smart thermostat that did a lot more. And then Google just stopped supporting it, even though people were like, "What? I got this device now," and it's just that's it. There's like no more support, and Google is basically just going to brick them all. Essentially, that's how it's going to work, and that's something that can be, if you buy something that's connected to one of these big services or whatever, well, you can expect that kind of thing. You can expect your device to just, hey, it's bricked. Sorry, come buy a new one. That's going to be a thing. Anyway, they've announced their next product. It's going to be the Nest Cam Outdoor. So now you can have a camera outdoor. It can tell the difference in a dog and a cat and not a dog and a cat, like a cat and a human in a car and stuff like that. So it'll know like, oh, human approaching at 2 a.m. It's a little weird. So it's just a sort of a smart camera for the outside. The thing that I want to mention again about this is not a closed circuit thing. It's not just something you're going to use in your house with a hard drive in your closet or storage area or whatever. It's Nest. It's connected to the internet. What happens if the internet goes down? I guess I don't even know. I haven't really looked into this stuff because I'm all for building one of these for our own private use, but not using these.
Not internet connected.
Yeah, not internet connected. No.
Not everything needs the internet. Plus, also, you got to wonder. It's like, how is this put together? If somebody dresses up as a raccoon and robs your house, would you even know that they were there? I mean, how good's the AI? How good is the thing being able to tell you, how good the thing actually is? Somebody
they drive by and they're like, fancy house, door wide open, no one home. They've got a Nest. Get the cat suit. And the next thing you know, we've got some guys wearing some fetish gear crawling into a house, and Nest is like, it's just a weird looking hairless cat thing. I'm not going to worry about that.
So this is the universe that Batman is from. No one can actually pick up Batman on surveillance cameras because the surveillance cameras don't think it's important enough to record. It don't make sense now.
See, he's not a typical ninja. He's a smart ninja, utilitarian ninja. Utilitarian ninja, no. Ninjatarian? No, that sounds like a ninja who doesn't eat meat. Ninjas don't eat meat anyway. Like the standard ninja diet is tofu and vegetables. What am I getting on about? And rice.
Batman found a portal to the parallel universe in the central finite curve in order to, like, wherever people had this technology already, I guess. I don't know.
I wonder if he's friends with Brick. Rick Sanchez. Shall we move on? Check out the store, guys. It keeps us alive, and hopefully it'll keep you alive because it'll keep you clothed and warm and happy. So it's a trade-off. Do you see what we're doing here? We're making something to make you happy, and then by doing this, providing it for you, you're keeping us alive by supporting us, making, so we can make videos and whatnot.
Did we actually crack the formula? Isn't it usually like you can only pick two? Like you can only be clothed and warm, but you can't be happy. You can be clothed and happy, but you won't be warm.
Well, see, with our shirts, we have technology that is allowing people to be clothed, warm, and happy. You can't get that on the LTT store. You can't get it. They don't make it. You can't get that well, actually, Barnacle stuff's pretty good, and so is Timmy Tech TV. But you can't get that in other stores. Maybe Paul. I don't know about Kyle's store. Yeah, Kyle's store, yeah. And maybe some items from the LTT store, but not all of them.
Better ingredients, better merchandise.
I don't know. I'm just slamming LTT because people get riled up and the comments are like, at time marker this, he said something about LTT. I don't care, guys. I'm just being stupid.
You keep saying LTT, but I keep hearing LIT, and I'm thinking Long Island Iced Tea. I don't what. Iced Tea the rapper. What's happening? I don't understand.
I think it's actually water tea. All right, that's enough of the references for today. I'm going to quickly go over this PewDiePie nonsense here because I'm yelling at The Verge yet again. The Verge has a very irresponsible article here about PewDiePie, and they're yelling at him for taking money, and they're all going through here talking about like he's just taking money and not really correctly disclosing things. And you know what? I'll say this. That, yeah, there's not really anything negative said in some of the videos that a lot of the YouTubers out there who are paid to make these videos. But he's not, number one, he's not a reviewer, so stop calling him a reviewer. He makes goofy videos on the internet. Number two, I looked at the video, there's disclosure right there. Number three, the FCC rules didn't take place until 2015. This video was made in 2014. So it sounds like you're just trying to create some trouble and point some fingers at someone who you're saying has very bad ethics or something like that. You want to call out someone, he's the top on YouTube. He's the big guy. He's got his book out. He's like, whatever. And so you're pointing fingers at him, and you got a clickbait article here. And at the same time, I've been to your channel, and I've seen some videos showcasing products like, namely this Brita filter thing, this new smart Brita filter. You guys made a video and did not say in the video that it was advertising, but it was more of a commercial than any commercial I've seen on television in the last several years. So I wonder how much money you got from Brita to make that. I don't know. I don't agree with taking money for a strictly positive video where you're not allowed to say anything negative. I don't agree with that, but they did disclose it. So stop acting like they're trying to fool everyone on the internet, even though they might fool half of their audience because a lot of people don't click on the description and don't read things and whatever. But I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about where do YouTubers get their money lately, and over at LTT they made their video showing where their money came from and how they work. Talked about integrity and all that sort of thing. I don't know. You think we should do one of those windows where we sit back and show people what and where and how? Do people care about that?
We totally can. It would be a lot of fun. It would be interesting. They probably would be horrified, actually.
You guys did.
It turns out we really do. Used paper clips and rubber bands really do keep us going. Woot!
Yeah. I mean, the assassination budget is something that's not on there, guys. So you guys don't know how much money we make to character assassin. That's what I'm talking about. What'd you think?
I'm working on all the Broadwell E videos still. And Intel's just going to murder us. Intel's never going to want to work with us. It's going to be awful. But because in the video, I'm literally probably going to advocate. It's like, look, if you need a 4-core, probably you should go Skylake. If you want more than 4 cores and you're going to do content production, the Adobe suite is so badly optimized that you're not really going to get efficiency past 6 cores anyway. Puget Systems has done a lot of work on this, and some other people have done a lot of work on this to actually benchmark the Adobe suite. That's not my personal experience with After Effects. If you get a lot of third-party plugins for After Effects, the parallelization can actually work out really well. However, if you build a computer out of garbage using the Xeon E5 2670s, which are basically garbage, you can get those for about $30 each on eBay, you can end up with a 16-core, 32-thread workstation. And I did exactly that. I stuffed it in a Corsair 780T, and there's a video coming up for this. And I actually am getting prices from eBay and things, although I did get some stuff off of Craigslist. I'm going to try to use eBay prices for some of the other stuff. But anyway, 16 cores, 64 gigabytes of RAM, brand new Corsair 780T case, a used 1200 watt power supply, and the whole thing was like $750. And it's 3.3 gigahertz on 4 cores, 3.1 gigahertz on all 16 cores, 32 threads. It's basically an old server stuffed into a desktop case. $750 versus $1,700 for just the CPU for a 10 core. That's insane.
I guess now's a bad time to mention that I'm going to dinner with Intel tonight.
Don't mention the video. Don't mention the garbage computer.
I'm probably not going to have to mention anything because I'm going with someone else, and they invited someone else, and someone else will just from henceforth be known as someone else. So they were like, "Hey, can I bring another person with me?" And they were like, "Oh, great, yeah, who are you bringing?" They're like, "Logan." And they were like, "Okay, who's that?" And they were like, "You ever heard of Tech Syndicate?" And they were like, "No idea what you're talking about, but they can come if they want to." That's the marketing team at Intel.
That's cool. It's all good. No one cares. We're too edgy.
Edgy. That's not. What is even the definition of edgy? I don't even know.
Edgy is when your co-content creator is like, no, just fish these computers out of the dumpster. You'll be fine. You don't need the Broadwell E. You don't need to spend $1,700 on that CPU. What you do need to do is get some old surplus server equipment from your local businesses and universities and just use that as a desktop. That's probably why they don't know about it.
See, to a frugal person or a crazy computer hacker, that's not edgy. That's fun and frugal and ridiculous and all that. The edgy is a
reasonable course of behavior.
Yeah. It's totally reasonable. But edgy is a word that means something different. If you're talking to a family, in the church parking lot that just left church, and you show them a picture of someone doing something strange or dark or creepy, they're going to be like, "Oh, that's edgy." But if you show that same thing to someone at some strange event, like a goth club or something, they're going to be like, "That's cool." It's not edgy to them. I don't know. It's one of those weird words.
I definitely think.
But we're edgy to them.
$1,700 on a CPU is wacky, especially when it's a desktop CPU. I mean, I could kind of understand. I mean, I work on servers regularly that are like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and so it's kind of like, well, I mean, we did pay a lot for CPUs. It's kind of. I worked on one system that has quad-core CPUs, and it's a new system, new-ish, pretty new. Quad-core CPUs, but it has just a ludicrous amount of cache. It's an E7 CPUs, and for the particular problem that computer is solving, holy crap, having the ridiculous amounts of cache really, really makes that problem go. But Intel is dialed in on this. Intel knows that they have customers that need a ridiculous clock speed and tons of cache, but don't really need a lot of cores. And so that CPU for us, for our suppliers, is actually the same price as like a 10 or 12 core variant of that same processor that has the same amount of cache. And so it's almost like they have that processor, but they just disable it. But again, that's on the server side. But the more important takeaway from this, and I think this is something that we don't need to get into on the tech, but might be fun for another video, is to talk about the death of the mid-range computer. I mean, literally, we're entering an era where if they're going to charge $1,700 for the 10-core desktop part, our advice to you is probably just going to be to get a workstation, to get a true, like an actual workstation, if you need that kind of compute horsepower. And the software is so shitty and awful that, like, even if you're like us and you're a content creator and you're producing YouTube videos and you want to really do your upscale 4K whatever, a Skylake machine at 4 gigahertz or 4.5 gigahertz quad core is going to do a better job than a 3 gigahertz 6 core, because the software does not parallelize that well, even for the Adobe Premiere type workloads. And Puget Systems and some others have done really great write-ups on this. Now, for scientific computing and computer science people like me, the 16 core machine, I can run a lot of virtual machines. It runs Linux like a champ. I can mix workloads. I can run Windows at the same time I'm running Linux. And so in that use case, it kind of makes sense. But, if there were a 6-core Skylake machine, which is honestly probably what's on the horizon, then that makes more sense for most people. And a lot of the lower cost X99 systems make a lot of sense too. But Intel charges the motherboard makers $100 for the X99 chipset, thereabouts. Yeah, so I mean it's not easy to make an inexpensive X99 motherboard.
Let's get back to this. German police are raiding homes over some hate speech on Facebook. So now we have police kicking down doors because of something you posted on Facebook. That's very interesting. Now, so what's happening is I guess there's a lot of strife in Europe in general, but there was a lot of it there when we were in Paris. You could kind of feel it in the air. The climate has changed there. The climate has changed in a lot of places in Europe because of the refugees. They come to town, and a lot of times they practice their own customs, and they don't really integrate into society quickly. And a lot of the German people, not all of them, I'm sure some of them are like, hey, it's Germany, do German things. Here's a Dunkelweissen, And they're like, no, we're not going to drink, or we don't believe in that, or whatever. And there's a little tension in the air. So naturally, some people are cool, let's integrate, let's talk about it. Other people are getting online and posting, hateful Nazi-style stuff and xenophobic comments, threatening violence, that kind of thing.
And that will not be tolerated in Germany, apparently.
Yeah, Germany's kicking down doors. They're mainly, targeting specific people, and I think they're trying to send a message that, hey, we will not tolerate this sort of xenophobic hate speech. We will, allow these people to come here, and we will welcome them. And while I think that the idea is good, kicking down doors because someone's put something online, I mean, where does that become? I mean, where does free speech come into this? And how far is too far? And who decides that? You know what I mean? Like, who decides, like, this post here is pretty hateful, but this one here, we need to kick his door down. I mean, it can be despicable, but when do we cross that line? I don't know. So that's happening in Germany.
So the problem that they want to correct is this kind of thinking. And I don't think that responding this way is good because it will drive this kind of thinking underground. The problem is to figure out where this thinking comes from, and then help people understand not to think that way. And it sounds really, really Orwellian when you put it that way. It's like, no, this is wrong think. You need to think about it a different way. And then you sort of go down the rabbit hole of the tools used for those kind of things can totally be abused. Like, these people should be approached, and they should be, it's like, why do you think this? Why do you say this? Who has told you this? Why is this the way that it is? The problem is when this kind of thing goes on under the radar and the behavior is not, well known by the community. I would much rather have this kind of stuff policed by friends and family and community and people that are close to everybody. But some people are isolationist, mm-hmm. And some people are, they don't have a lot of friends, they don't talk to anybody, and they just quietly go insane and then murder a bunch of people. And at least in America, we have a mental health problem. And I don't know if some of this is that Germany maybe also has a little bit of a mental health problem in terms of like how that's taken care of. They're probably doing a much better job than we are. But it seems like of the last 5 or 6 tragedies that we've had here in America stemming from, hate speech fueled xenophobia and God knows what else, that there have been warning signs where other people have warned the authorities or warned people that, hey, this guy's acting kind of weird. Hey, there's not really an outlet for those people to go to because they have serious mental health issues. And we just, at least in America, we don't do a good job taking care of that. And I suspect that is probably a component of these kinds of things. I don't think that the response is necessarily that you send, full riot gear people in to break the door down. I don't think that's exactly the right response. But you do need to, at least investigate these kind of things and try to figure it out. Was the guy, drunk and just posting like a crazy person? And if you show up at the doors, like, oh yeah, I was drunk. Sorry about that. I don't really think those things. Drunk me turns into anti-Semitic me. I don't know. So, I don't. It's really easy to accidentally create an Orwellian future trying to fix these kind of problems, and some of the problems are just human nature, which is sad and disappointing, but maybe we can fix culturally.
This is happening in Germany, right? But it would never happen in America, right? And it's kind of thing, oh, wait.
Oh,
Wait. So the police are arresting people for criticizing cops on Facebook and Twitter. And this is not, it's right after the whole Dallas thing. So the situation here is kind of the opposite, where we have the law enforcement officials doing stuff that's pretty much racist. And the people are freaking out about it. And then it's very divisive because now everyone, the whole race thing is so ridiculously big in America still. And it seems to be, every time you turn up, pick up a rock, you're like, oh, whoa, that's racially insensitive in some way, or there's something under there that said there was an ethnic slur underneath that rock. I don't even know. It's just like, it's unbelievable that it's still going on in this day and age. But here we have people getting online and saying things like, the guy who shot all the cops in Dallas is a hero. That was one of the ones. And then someone else was like, hey, if the cops pull me over, it's okay for me to shoot them for no reason, right? Because that's what happens when they pull you over. They just shoot you for no reason. So anyway, some of the police, this is Detroit and then a few other places, they are actually rolling out and arresting people. And right now, was the quote right here. This is from the Detroit police chief, James Craig. He said, I know this is a new issue, but I want these people charged with crimes. I'm directing my officers to prepare warrants for these individuals, and we'll see which venue is the best to pursue charges. So right now, they're not even sure how to pursue charges, but they're arresting them, and they want to charge them. They just got to figure out how to do it. And, yeah, most of the people being arrested are saying some stuff that's pretty really... it sounds like, well, I mean, congratulating someone for shooting someone else, it's messed up. But should we arrest them for posting things on social media? And after this starts, it turns into another slippery slope. So right now we're starting with the extreme, the xenophobes, the racists, the bigots, the people who are just spewing hateful things, death threats, and that sort of thing. But after it becomes normal, like, hey, if you say something online, the cops can come to your house and drag you away. When does it change from I say like, hey, I think it's fun to get together with my friends and hack together a robot. Oh, I used the word hack. Now they're going to come to my house and drag me away and be like, are you a hacker? Why don't you tell us what you're hacking, boy? What are you hacking into? Hacking into the Pentagon? Did you? You got any missiles in the basement? We think we found some missiles in your basement. And what's this? Clorox? What are you using that for? To build what? Dirty bombs? I'm like, no, dirty laundry, you idiot. So
I think the really unfortunate thing here is that a lot of people are stupid and they have no idea.
Can we just get that on t-shirt? The really unfortunate thing here is that a lot of people are stupid. And that's the end of the show.
I mean, if you think about it, think about how that actually translates into some real world useful piece of knowledge. And that is, pretty much all electronic communication is stored and recorded, and it's on Twitter from now and forever. And there's not really any kind of context. People want to just sort of casually be in the moment and casually say things. And so somebody might casually say something stupid, especially if they've been drinking, or especially if they've, done something, or they're in an astable emotional state or something like that. You never really know. But because of the electronic nature of the communication, it's always there. It's sort of indelible, and you always can sort of go back to the well, and it's like, oh, let's use this for a warrant, and let's do all this, and let's do all that. But if you think about it, it's like if somebody sends you an angry email full of typos and other retardedness, is that better or worse than somebody sending you a letter where somebody actually has to write it out? Is that any better or worse than somebody sending you a typed letter? What if somebody sends you registered certified mail that contains the same type of commentary? What if somebody hires a lawyer to draft a letter to you that is sent registered certified mail? I mean, there's sort of, graduations there. This is like dumb people on Twitter, and we're responding to dumb people on Twitter like it's an actual credible threat. Clearly, we're doing this wrong.
I mean, but how do you know? I mean, it's just like, and then after well,
it is complicated.
The slippery slope. I mean, let's take this to the next step, right? Because something else happened in Dallas. They used a robot to kill one of the shooters. Now, there's a few things to glean from this. First off, first time we've on American soil that we know of that we've used a robot to roll in and kill a perpetrator, who we believe to be a perpetrator. And let's think about this for a minute, because he rolls into the scene. He's a robot. You can't really, shoot and kill a robot, so there was not like there was a gunfight back and forth between the killer and the robot or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it went down. I wasn't there, guys. I wasn't there. But was the dude read his rights? Did the robot read him his rights? Was there any due process here? Was the guy convicted? I mean, it just immediate death sentence. Send in robot, kill guy. So
send in robot, kill guy to neutralize the threat, and it's like,
right. So
it's basically a bomb on a remote control. So
yeah.
That's kind of scary.
And were they even? They were probably pretty sure. But how sure were they? And isn't it normal in America even if you shoot somebody, isn't it normal to send in the SWAT team, capture the guy, and give him a trial? I'm not trying to stand up for the guy if he shot people. I don't. I'm not gonna even get into that debate. But I'm just gonna be like, well, hold on a minute. It's not normally how we do things. But now it's a robot. It's a little different because, robot's not a human. It's not really Is the robot accountable to anybody? What's going on here? So there's a lot of stuff to talk about here, and I'm not sure how the regulations work, and there's not a lot of people talking about the fact that there's no due process involved here. And I've just heard, hey, this is interesting, a robot killed a guy. This is the first. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the very practical, just we're not going to get deeper than the surface. We're just going to talk about what happened right here. So we can string the last two articles together. And how about this? You start posting something very hateful and, possibly a death threat or something on Twitter, and a knock at your door, 2 a.m, you open the door, and it's a robot standing there with, "Hi, Steve. We don't like what you said on the internet. We are sorry. You've been scheduled for termination."
So it's like a combination of Judge Dredd and the Terminator. I could live in that future. That sounds good to me.
It'll keep us on our toes at least, but it'll drive all of us underground. We'll have to think of new things. MIT is creating a new alternative to Tor. I'm not sure if I brought that article up or not. I don't think I did, but MIT's working on an alternative to Tor that they say is going to be more secure, but maybe it'll drive people to start using stuff like that. But it can also be used for good. Don't forget that. Anyway.
We're gonna send Sylvester Stallone to the Tor exit node's house, and he's gonna show up and be like, "Oh, you're scheduled for termination." It's like, wait, what? What now? It's like, yep. See you later. It's like, no.
We got more FBI stuff to get through. This is kind of fun. The FBI has created some malware, right? And they're saying it's not malware because they made it, and they're the good guys.
It's not malware when we do it.
We're the FBI. What are you talking about? We made some software that this sort of revolves around that whole case that we talked about a while back, where the FBI created a child porn website, and it was basically a snare, and they arrested like 100 people from it, and some of the stuff's been thrown out in court, but and some of this has been classified as malware because it's a malicious piece of software, and they were installing tracking and just they're trying to do normal malware type of things, but their argument is like, hey, we're the FBI, we're the good guys. If we make something that's tracking you, it's not malware. So I'm going to be watching this case closely to see, what the final verdict is, because if they come back and say, you know what, you're right, you're the FBI, you're making this software, and a lot of the problem right now is they're doing it not without proper warrants and that sort of thing. So if the courts come back like they usually do and say, like, you know what, we need this, you guys can keep doing this, no warrants needed, have fun, you're the good guys, then we'll have even more surveillance. That's just go look at everything, watch people. It's fun, right?
I could see this actually being an affirmative defense for security researchers, because I could think of a few security researchers that got in trouble for having stuff that was like hacking tools and disassembled BIOSes and some other stuff like that. And it's like, wait, this is not like you were trying to say that I was guilty of a crime or whatever, and the evidence was that I had these tools, and it's like, no, these tools can be used for good. You said so yourself. So,
man, everybody better have their tinfoil hats on for this episode. But this episode sounds very tinfoil hat, but it's not, because this stuff is actually happening. So what I'm going to say right now is that, hey, you live in your world bubble, and a lot of times you'll hear information that doesn't fit into your happy world bubble, and it doesn't make you feel comfortable, and it sounds way out there like conspiracy theory mumbo jumbo. But these articles are facts, guys. I'm sorry to bring it up, but the FBI has been gathering iris scans, and this technology's been in place for a while. I knew a friend who had top secret clearance, and he was actually installing these things in government buildings and schools and that sort of thing that could scan people's retinas from a distance. So start wearing your damn sunglasses when you go out, because as I guess right now they're testing this. They're always just testing it. Whenever anything goes wrong, just like Comcast with their data caps, they're rolling them out all over the freaking country, and they're like, oh, we are testing it in these markets. Which markets? All markets. We are testing it. But same thing here. It's like, something's going on. They're like, oh, we're testing it in Los Angeles and a few other areas around the country, I think Missouri and something else, California, Texas, Missouri. But they're testing it in these places. But essentially, they're able to. They're just getting a giant database. So far, they have 400,000 iris scans in their database, and they're getting it from several different places. But the takeaway for me is that this technology can be used from a distance. I don't think that's how they're gathering the information right now. They're gathering it from whatever. You can get it from medical, Where's that medical article you sent me? It's in here somewhere. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're getting a lot of this came from like criminal databases and other databases. They say in the article, but there's also a little known program that I think most ophthalmologists are a member of. At least most ophthalmologists in America that actually get reimbursed from Medicare and Medicaid. There's a program to upload pictures of your iris, high-resolution multispectral images of your iris and retina to basically the Medicare and Medicaid, some kind of a program. And this is some software that's provided with a machine that does your retina scanning and your iris scanning as part of your ophthalmologist. And so you should ask if you go to the eye doctor occasionally, if you go to an ophthalmologist, you should ask them, it's like, hey, did you have to install any software on your stuff in order to be able to get reimbursed for Medicare and Medicaid? Are you uploading pictures of people's irises and retina as part of that? Because I think Google has access to this database, because I think I read an article that said Google was using artificial intelligence to spot retinal problems even ahead of doctors, because they had this huge database and they had sort of the patient history of that, I think, through this national program. And so I don't have any problems with the national program. It's like, oh, this seems good. We're trying to get tabs on the populace and sort of do this anonymously. But if these things also end up being used by law enforcement and other purposes later that quote-unquote society didn't sign up for, these are the kinds of things we have to keep an eye out for, because just with one hard drive being mailed from A to B, all of a sudden that database is somewhere that we didn't intend. And that's how easy it is to start falling down this hill, and then before you know it, you've got a head injury.
You know, it's kind of funny to me how often the government has to run to Google, because Google, I mean, we talk about the government a lot, and they're always trying to get all this data and surveillance and whatnot. Google is the master at this stuff, and so the government's always running them like, Google, yeah, do you have any information, GPS information on this guy at this time? Can you maybe give us some of this data? Do you guys have any pictures of this? Do you have any satellite feeds that we can look at? It's kind of funny when you think about it in a sad kind of way, how often Google is, or how often the government approaches Google about this stuff. We could go on about this for a long time, guys, and you know, it's good to look at the worst case scenarios in a lot of these situations, because the technology exists. The people in power have a history of abusing technology and not understanding technology, and thinking that they're on a separate tier because they're rich and they're politicians and then they're the elite, so they've got a separate set of rules, and everyone, of course, they've got to watch everybody else because they're stupid. So we have to, look at the worst case scenarios, because in 10 years, it might be way worse than what we thought it could be right now, because that's the way it has gone for the last 10 years. We get to it now and we're like, what? There's lobbyists trying to do what? Like, what do you mean? They're just eating babies? What? So
think about it this way. If you'd bought that Internet of Things fridge in 1995, there was a still perfectly operational fridge today, but you were having to struggle with Windows 95 in order to use your fridge, you would probably be very unhappy. So this is like that, but with society as opposed to your fridge. So it's a little more important.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's lighten up a little bit, shall we? Let's take a look at Rust and Firefox. I'll let you talk about this, see who's interested in this, maybe. Building Rust into
Firefox
Mozilla's
is
media
not
stack.
dead yet. Oh my God. There's two big things that are happening with Firefox. One, Mozilla supports this language called Rust, and Rust is really a lot of fun because it's kind of like C and C++ syntactically a little bit, not really a lot, and semantically under the hood, it's not really like C and C++ at all. But Rust is this fun new language that makes it easy-ish to produce secure computer code that has less what let's call undefined behavior. So like in C and C++, and you're doing funky stuff with structs and pointers and things like that, you can get really quickly, you can get into undefined behavior territory where it'll do one thing on most of the time, but then if somebody comes along and does something, it may do something completely different unpredictably. This is where a lot of security issues come from. This is where a lot of quote-unquote zero-day exploits come from. Well, Rust is designed to prevent those kind of things from the outset, and if you have a situation where undefined behavior may occur, the compiler basically doesn't let you do that. But that also makes things like parallel programming really easy. So if you need to write a program that is able to run lots and lots of threads concurrently and be able to deal with that programmatically, then Rust makes it a lot easier to do those kinds of things. Well, Firefox, Mozilla supports that. Mozilla supports Firefox. Mozilla has rolled out the first Rust component of Firefox, hopefully the first of many, which will make browsing with Firefox more secure and more awesome and more everything, because this particular language is really good. And so also, not enabled by default, I think, in this version, but probably the next version is also multi-threading, which is kind of related to that, but not exactly. So Firefox finally will be multi-threaded. They're going to run a thread for the plugins, a thread for media and that kind of thing, and a thread for rendering the web page, which it's about time. I mean, it sounds like, it's like, wait a minute, web browsing hasn't been multi-threaded in Firefox? Nope. Not unless you turn it on manually. So yeah, I'm just really excited by these two things with Firefox. So hopefully Firefox is not dead yet, because I'm getting real tired of using Chromium and stripping out all the Google crap from Chrome. So
speaking of technology updates, let's check out these benchmarks from Doom using Vulkan. I've been wanting to do just a straight up 1060 versus the 480 in Vulkan with Doom, but I don't have a 1060 yet, so I guess I could try the 1070 just see what I get. But here's some interesting benchmarks right here from a German YouTuber.
From adored.tv.
Mm-hmm. And these benchmarks are pretty interesting. They put the Fury X way up on top, and I'm not sure if this is the same as everyone else's results, but you and I have been saying this for years and years, that when the API changes, like the AMD cards have looked really, really good on paper. They've been supporting hardware asynchronous compute for a long time. Their specs have been, like when you look at it on paper, you would think, well, yeah, the AMD is probably going to be faster than the NVIDIA. But then in the games, it's like, oh, the NVIDIA is faster. And that's what's going on here. What's wrong with it? And I've always said, it's the API. We look at Mantle and it evens the tables a little bit, but the NVIDIA is usually still ahead. Right now, the NVIDIA's got the King GPU with the 1080, and they've got something else coming out next month or two. I'm not sure when. It might be a secret that I don't know about. That don't sue me. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. All I know is that they've got an event sometime in the next couple of months. But
in the press release and that kind of thing, AMD's been kind of conservative, and they said up to a 27% improvement with Vulkan. And this particular benchmark for Doom, side by side with a 980 Ti and a 980, a 980 Ti and a 1080, the RX 480 gains like 47% performance by enabling Vulkan, and the Fury X has about a 50% gain, a little bit more than that. And so, yeah, asynchronous compute is real, and holy crap, that's really, really good. So this is really exciting.
I also want to mention that in a lot of these benchmarks, the filters make a huge difference, because a lot of the filters out there, MSAA severely favors the NVIDIA stuff. SMAA is sort of the one I would usually recommend using, as far as
in fact, I think Vulkan, if I don't know, I need to do the research on it, but in this video it looks like that if you want to use Vulkan, only one of the anti-aliasing modes is truly fully supported on Vulkan, and so you have to use that mode or no anti-aliasing when you're doing your benchmarks. And a lot of other people have gotten that wrong. A lot of people have done the Vulkan benchmarks, but they're not using the Vulkan native anti-aliasing, or they're not using no anti-aliasing. And so the numbers may be skewed because it's got to do the thing, and then it's got to do the anti-aliasing process, which is not, Vulkan enabled or as Vulkan enabled, or may not be Vulkan enabled, at least in the particular case of Doom.
So there's a lot to look into there. I would love to play around with this if I get some time. A lot of other projects going on, but might be worth looking at. If I get a 1060, I will play around with Vulkan, because I've got a 480 over here. And I quite like it. It's in the rig behind me, running Linux and Windows just fine. So, yeah. All right, let's get into some science stuff. How about making some electricity with water, salt, and a 3-atom thick membrane? I'll just gloss over this, but it's very interesting. They've created a membrane, and they put salt water on one side and regular water on the other. As it passes through, they just essentially catch the charged ions, and they're like, hey, there we go. We got electricity. And they say that doing this with 1 square meter membrane of this 3-atom thick membrane can generate enough electricity to power 50,000 standard energy saving light bulbs. That's a very vague number. What is a standard energy saving light bulb? But anyway, you get it does 1 milliwatt of electricity. So, yeah.
It's crazy. It could be.
MW is not milliwatt, it's megawatt, right?
Megawatts, yeah. They're saying that 1 square meter, with 30% of its surface covered by these nanopores, would be able to produce 1 megawatt of electricity. So The testing that they're doing right now is with a membrane that only contains a single nanopore. So they've got some scaling to do. They need to scale that up just a bit in order to be able to get into the megawatt territory. But this is interesting because it suggests an energy density that I really want to sort of cross-check and really understand the mechanics of what they're saying as far as energy density goes, because I would not think that salt water would support energy densities this high, because we've done a lot of work to get the energy densities that we have, with like lithium polymer and other kinds of batteries like that. And so this is a little different. This is an electrical gradient kind of a thing, and it may be that molybdenum, something is happening to the molybdenum disulfide, which is the component of the nanopore coating thingy, and so maybe something with that is providing some of the energy. I don't know. I don't understand the physics behind this. There's not really enough detail here for me to work that out, but maybe it would be good to read the read the actual paper in question and sort of understand how this actually applies. But it has the potential, and so it should be explored. And it's really interesting because we've got tons of salt water and not as much fresh water. So
just install this all over the bracket, wherever there's brackish water, put some of this in. All right, let's get on over to gaming. Nintendo is releasing a miniature NES console pack with 30 classic games. It's very tiny, fits in your hand. You can get a controller. You can't use your old school controllers because the ports are such that it's made for like the Wii style plug or whatever. You can use the classic controller. You can get a Nintendo controller and you can get an extra one for $10. 30 games, $60. And here's the thing. This is all over the internet today. Like two or three people have actually emailed this article to me, and it's like I see this and I'm like, oh, everybody's freaking out about this while all the nerds have been doing this with the Raspberry Pi for ages. So, hey, now all your friends who are, don't know what a Raspberry Pi is or whatever, they can get excited about this. But you guys can go ahead and use a Raspberry Pi and make your own little emulation station and emulate all the games that you own copies of, physical copies of. But yeah, I just think it's interesting that everyone's freaking out over this. I guess it's cool that it's made by Nintendo. I mean,
my copy of The Legend of Zelda came from the video rental store, so it's held together with baling wire and duct tape.
It does have The Legend of Zelda 1 and 2, so that's kind of interesting. Mario Bros. 1, 2, 3. Here's a list of all the games if you guys want to see. Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream. It's not Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Aw. Whatever. So that's pretty much the end of that. Castlevania 1 and 2. All right. We got some more retro news here. LucasArts made 30 years ago, they made an MMO. And this was made, way back. It ran on Commodore 64's Quantum Link. Did you ever play this? I never actually played this old MMO.
Never did.
Habitat, huh?
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this, but now I'm like kind of curious. Old game called Habitat. Interesting box art. I don't know much about it, but so some people from MAID, which is what's it stand for? What does the acronym stand for? Right up here somewhere. I don't know. It's Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment. So some guys from that were able to get the source code, play with it a little bit, and now it's on GitHub. So if anybody wants to go play with it, it has been preserved. And I'm very curious about this because this is one of the first MMOs that I've ever heard of 30 years ago. Commodore MMO. Or back in the Commodore days, an MMO. That's wild. Yeah, you can run it on a Linux server if you want to.
The museum had to track down a 300-pound vintage Stratus Technologies Nimbus server and then clean and restore it to the point that it could run code designed to handle up to 10,000 players.
Jesus. You know something? If you work for a company, because it's as I travel, I discovered that our audience does awesome things. Does some really awesome things. Whenever we go out and have a beer with them, like, what do you do? They're like, oh, I invented helicopters. It's just like that's what I almost expect now. Like, oh, you invented helicopters. Are you full of shit? No, wasn't that a long time ago? Oh, I'm also a time traveler. Oh, cool. Yes, you are a member of our audience. That makes sense now. But if any of you guys are members of a team doing a project like this or working on something like this on your own, go over to our forum and let us know. If it's really cool, I could probably justify, flying out there and making a video about it, because I really want to highlight the projects that the community is doing. And then, the future goal, once we get organized into the offices and stuff, is to start doing some projects in the forum empowering some of you guys, working together, maybe finding other open source projects. Be something that I think Wendell's going to be heading up a lot of, finding other open source projects that are cool, helping them, and then maybe Kane and I will fly out there with a camera, or Sean will come with us. Who knows? We'll fly out there with a camera and just document the process, because as long as we can justify the plane tickets by throwing it online and selling a couple T-shirts and whatever else we do, then it'll be really cool. So let me know what you guys are up to on the forum over at Tech Syndicate. It's pretty much the end of the episode. Closing salutations. Do I have any? No, not really. Thanks a lot for all the support, guys. You guys are awesome.
Not a lot of news this week. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
That's good, though. More time to work on other stuff.
Yeah. And I guess now it's time to go get ready to see if Intel knows who the hell I am. It's going to be funny to sit down and be there and then be like, okay, we got some random guy here. So...
You're going to sit down and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember now. There's a case file on you. It says do not talk to. Whoops.
I'll be like, yeah. I'll play it like, all the current movies where like the bad guy wants to get himself in trouble. Be like, yes, I put that there, and now we are in the meeting that I have arranged. So one of those things. I'll play it that way. Like I've planned this all along because I'm a mega genius, and then what's going to happen in the end is all this meticulous planning. The superhero is going to come in and trip over the cord and ruin everything. It's always the way it works. The villain does meticulous planning. He's smarter. Superhero comes in, gets something stuck in it, gets his penis stuck in a light socket, and the whole place explodes. And then it's like, oh, drat, I was foiled by that idiot. Always the way it happens. Every movie, every cartoon. Except for some... I'm just rambling at this point. You guys have hopefully closed the video by now. But there could be a surprise at the end, like who knows, maybe we're giving away a yacht. Just if you wait long enough.
Zotac makes yachts now?
I don't know, that'd be kind of Zotac-y, Can you imagine a yacht with this paint job? I mean, this paint job looks cool on a graphics card, but on a yacht, it would maybe a speedboat. Did I just say Zotac-y? God damn it, there goes all of our future sponsorships.
Wait. Is the text on it upside down?
It's so that when you put it in there, so you put it in your machine like this, and you look at it, it's actually the right way. You know what I mean? Because when it's installed in your machine, you'll be looking at it like this.
I was thinking about the cases now, like the fancy cases that have the fancy side come with the little bracket thingy. So I guess it would be showing the fan side first anyway.
Right. No, this should be the correct side. You'll be seeing the back plate. This is LED right here. It's kind of interesting. It lights up. LED on the top. This thing is full of LEDs. It glows.
Is it a triple slot card?
It's 2.5 slots. So, I think 2.5 sounds better than triple. But what are you going to put in the other half slot? It's triple. It's 3. It's going to take up 3 slots. But yeah, it's big. The thermal mass is ridiculous on this thing. 1.4 kilograms. It's just they've attacked this thing with thermal mass. And it works.
Overclock the dickens out of it.
Yeah, I got this thing running well above. I got it up to 21 something, just without much problem at all. And it never got to 70 degrees. It's just whatever. There's so much thermal mass on that thing. If it would have gotten to 70 degrees, I'd have been like, "What is wrong with these heat fins? Why aren't they? What is going on?"
I wonder if that'll improve my rocket fuel production in Factorio.
Just throw 1 million fins at it. 1 million pounds of fins. This will stop the heat. Works every time. All right, thanks for watching, guys. It is so hot that I'm going to go jump in. Oh yeah, it's California and there's no water. What am I going to do?
Well, there's some water now. There's a little bit of water. It's coming back slowly.
Yeah, there's enough. And I'll go to the wealthy neighborhoods and climb their fence and jump into their pools because they don't the whole like water restriction rules doesn't apply in the wealthy neighborhoods. So Malibu, I'll see you in 15. I'm coming over.
If anybody yells at you, just tell them you were hunting Pokemon.
And if I get arrested for being nude, I don't have a swimsuit. What do you want? I'm a nerd. I don't have a swimsuit. I'm sorry. See you guys later. Sorry to end on this note. No, I'm not.